Defensive line, Iowa State 54, Iowa 8.
Wow. I mean, that's really high again. I actually feel a little bit better about the top half of Iowa's depth at defensive line than I do about the offensive line, just because I think it's pretty clear who the starters are if they all stay healthy. You got Llewellyn, you got Herkett, you got Graves. And then, I mean, maybe you could argue the other defensive tackle spot is sort of up in the air, but I've heard really good things. They get Jonah Pace over from Central Michigan. You get Bryce Hawthorne in from South Dakota State, and then they have Jeremiah Pittman who can fill in there. So they probably have, 7 guys, I'd say right now, and that's typically what Phil wants, 7 or 8. And then, they've got other pieces that, hey, they're young. Drew Campbell, younger brother of a Campbell that plays for the Lions now, Jack Campbell.
Jack Campbell, yeah.
And they have other people, so I think they'll be fine there. I don't really know who I would say to watch for. Obviously, Yosei Epinesa is a trendy name, but he did not enroll early. Who was it the other day? I was like, why are you is
Yosei AJ's little brother?
Yeah, his little brother. And he was, 5-star, high 4, low 5-star. So, but he's a freshman and he didn't get here early. So, maybe he'll, he's going to be, it's going to take some time, but AJ did give them something as a freshman, as an edge rusher.
I would say its defensive line is what's interesting because like the Dominic Orange might be the best individual player in either of these two groups, but the problem is that the ends are just not there. They brought in a couple different transfers that seem interesting, but the pass rush last year was really, really poor. Now, part of that was all of the linebackers getting hurt and not being able to supplement the pass rush out of the 3-3-5 with a linebacker. So that doesn't help. But I mean, the brass tacks is that the defensive line just was not good enough last year outside of J.R. Singleton and Dominic Orange. Now, Dominic Orange was amazing, but he can't do it by himself, unfortunately. This year, we'll see if Kenny Ziogu steps up or Samuel Same or, either of the transfers from Yale and Northern Iowa. It's we'll see. This is probably the weakest group on the roster, even if the nose tackle is maybe the best individual player on the roster.
So we're going to give that to Iowa, I'm assuming. And by the way, James, thank you. Brian Allen Jr. is another one who's played extensively, can line up just about anywhere on that defensive line, and he'll give them play as well.
Iowa taking a hit at linebacker after what they had last year. Iowa State 35, Iowa 50.
It's pretty close. In general, that's the closest ranking we've looked at so far.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, that's maybe the hardest one for me to, look forward at, just because I have a lot of trust in Seth Wallace, and I have heard really good things about the guys behind these guys, and they've done a good job turning over to the, when you lose a Jack Campbell or you lose a Seth Benson, but now you're losing a Jay Higgins and you're losing a Nick Jackson, who is nearly the all-time leader in tackles at the D1 level. I mean, I like the group they have. If Carson Shire can stay healthy, I feel like we say that at every position, but if he stays healthy, he has a chance to be really, really good. Jaden Harrell, I expect to start. And then I guess Jackson Rexroth is a trendy name because he's going to play when they have their traditional 4-3 formation on the field. You're going to see, I think, Jackson Rexroth as that third linebacker. But if he's not on the field, then you're just looking at two linebackers and a DB. So I don't know what Iowa State brings back. I have a lot of faith in Seth Wallace, so that's probably a toss-up in my opinion.
I would give Iowa State the edge here on depth, on the basis. Well, unfortunately, so in 2024, the story of the Iowa State defense was the Iowa State linebackers being absolutely obliterated by injuries, down like 9 or 10 guys. I mean, to the point where at the UCF game, you had a walk-on true freshman starting at middle linebacker, a scholarship true freshman starting at at the Sam, and a redshirt sophomore starting at the Will, the grizzled veteran of the group. And they held their own. They definitely looked young last year, but the great part is you get everybody back. You literally did not lose a linebacker off the roster. So Iowa State is bringing back 10 linebackers with starting or near starting level experience, including Caleb Bacon, who in 2023 was an outstanding edge rusher. and is expected to once again be the best linebacker in the room, even though last year he broke his leg on the second play of the game against North Dakota, which sucks. But Iowa State's linebacker depth will be significant this season, and they've got some good top end talent as well.
Is Miles Medzazoon?
He's moved down. He's moved down to the defensive end spot.
Gotcha. Is he going to play?
Yeah, he'll be in the. He was in the pretty heavily in the rotation towards the end of the season, and he'll definitely play. He'll be. I would guess he'll be one of the first two defensive ends on the field on either side.
Okay.
I don't know if he'll be a starter, but he'll be in that. Iowa State typically rotates pretty heavily a 6-man rotation on their 3-man front. So he'll be in. I would guess he'll be in the 6 or 8-man group of that. I would expect your starters to be Caleb Bacon, Cale Berzina, and Will McLaughlin probably.
Any concern about an injury?
Not right now.
Lingering.
Everybody is healthy from what I understand. Because last year you lose Caleb Bacon in the second game of the season. You didn't even get Will McLaughlin until the Utah game, like mid-November. By it was time you actually got Will McLaughlin back, and that was a lingering off-season back injury. But from what I understand, to my knowledge, everybody is as close to 100% as you can be 3 years into a college football career. So I would give Iowa State the edge on depth and just having so much returning experience. And then I really do think Caleb Bacon being on the field as an edge rusher, as a stand-up edge rusher, really changes the dynamic of the defense, who admittedly down the stretch really did struggle to stop the run. Just when you have 4 true freshmen on the field in your front 6, that's tough. And getting all those guys back will help the safeties. They don't have to cheat up to help with the run, helps with the defensive ends. It makes everybody's job a lot easier when you don't have to run out a bunch of 18-year-olds playing linebacker in November in the Big 12.
Yeah, Bacon 60 tackles the year before, and then
He's
only
a monster.
1 start and out.
Yeah,
last year. Secondary, Iowa State 15, Iowa 25.
Well, I'll tell you what, Iowa State's had a knack of having really good college players at that position. They have not produced a lot of great NFL talent. I think we can agree on that.
It's coming.
Levi.
TJ Tampa is slated to potentially be the Ravens starter at corner this coming season. Derek Porter was taken pretty high by the Raiders this year.
But there's a reason they bring all these guys. Who do they bring back this year at safety? They bring back
Jameson Patton, and then they Marcus Neal will be back, and I'm completely blanking on
who's the other DB that's at
Jontez Williams is a corner, and he was phenomenal.
Yeah, so he'll be back.
Season.
So he'll be good. I mean, I saw somebody the other day had Xavier Wampa rated really high nationally, and I'm like, that guy got beat out last year at one point in the season. Like, until he proves it, I don't know. I'm
not trying to be the anti-Iowa guy, but I've not been impressed with Xavier Wampa.
No, he's been okay. He's definitely not looking.
He's
like
not the
5-star.
I don't think he's the 5-star player.
So yeah, I mean, between him and Cohen and Tringer, I think they're good. I don't know that they're going to be great. And then they do have
Jeremiah
questions.
Cooper. That's the other returning safety. Why did I forget Jeremiah Cooper?
Cooper. That was actually the one
I don't know why. I don't know why.
He's someone that I've named. I got a lot of respect for how he plays, but I don't think he's an NFL guy. He's just, I don't know if physically he can fit the bill.
He's a little undersized. I think if again, I'm gonna use this name because I think this is his blueprint for success in the NFL. I realize it's gonna sound like a little bit hyperbole, but as a safety, I think it would be wise of him to turn into what like Tyrann Mathieu was at LSU, to be a real ball hawk back there. Like, they're not going to run him out for punts and kicks, so he's not going to be that kind of guy. But as a safety, being back there and being a ball hawk and really trying to be a turnover machine, I think would be. And he was that kind of early in his career. Like, he was an All Big 12, he was a freshman All-American, then struggled a little bit his junior year. He just wasn't very good last year. But he's a first team All Big 12 caliber guy. He'll get drafted. It'll probably be like an early day 3 type thing just because of his size. But I think the NFL in general is starting to give smaller guys more of a chance in general, because they realize that, like, everybody being 6'4", 220 isn't necessarily.
But again,
always
he's not going to have a better season than he had last year. So
yeah, he will.
Oh, okay.
I would hope he would. He was bad last year.
Okay,
maybe I'm thinking
of 2 years ago. He was really good 2 years ago.
His freshman and sophomore season, he was very, very good. The junior year last year, he took a step back, and I think that's at least partially due to the linebacker situation where he's having to cheat up and help out with the run. I think he will return to being the very, very good safety we saw 2 years ago.
And Shaheed Barros transfers in from South Dakota. Again, lower level, but Phil Parker's evaluating these kids. He was productive at South Dakota. I expect TJ Hall to start. Have heard nothing but good things about his maturation going into his senior year. Jalen Watson, really talented, great bloodlines. Everybody loves Zach Lutmer, trendy guy, fast. I'm trying to think of who am I missing in there? Deshaun Lee's played a lot. He's also been burned. So, but they have guys that plenty of experience. I think if TJ Hall takes that step, they basically got to figure out two spots, because the only sure thing last year was Jamari Harris. And now with him gone, you got to figure out two corners. So it's got to be two of your three that struggled last year. And so, I would guess it'll be TJ Hall and Deshaun Lee, but maybe it'll be a Jalen Watson. CJ Bell was highly touted kid coming out of high school, big win for them on the East Coast. So maybe he ends up being a guy that moves forward. It seems like injuries are an issue at corner. We say that every year at Iowa, it seems like.
And then finally, last but not least, Iowa King of the Hill, special teams #1 in the country.
We did miss tight ends, by the way. We didn't grab tight ends.
He threw them in with the receivers.
Oh, I missed that, because I know Iowa State's tight end room is expected to be a huge part of the offense. Ben Bramer is a borderline All-American talent player when he's healthy. Healthy has been the issue, but
Gabe Burkle, better tight end room than Iowa.
I don't know about better.
Deeper. I'll say deeper. I'll agree with that, because I think Iowa was actually not nearly as deep as they normally are. They're very young at tight end.
I think Iowa State's got the depth for sure. Like Iowa State will very comfortably run 12 or 13 personnel.
Yeah, I don't see Iowa doing much of any of 13 personnel.
I honestly, I hope they don't run a ton of 13 personnel, but they will do it. I think you're going to
see a lot less 12 personnel at Iowa. It was Zach Ortworth, Addison Estringa. Those, you're kind of your two guys that you know what you're getting. But I think Ortworth is probably the higher upside guy, but Estringa's had a ton of experience. As far as special teams is concerned, you could argue Iowa has the best kicker in the country. They have the best return specialist in the country. That goes for punts and kicks. And assuming Caden Weegan, I don't know that he's going to return punts this year. I know that's crazy to say. I would expect him to, but I don't know. I do wonder if he can emerge at receiver, how much wear and tear do you put on a kid like that? But if he's just that good and he's that much better than everybody else, then yeah, you got to play him at that position. And then punter, Reese Dakin was really good as a freshman. You expect him to get even better. He's like 27 years old now. He's got a huge leg. So, yeah. And then how about long snapper? They bring in Bryant Worrell. You want to talk about long snapping, Levi? They bring in Bryant Worrell out of Boston College.
Boston. Known long snapper factory, Boston College.
Yeah, that's right.
I would say, in general, I would say feels pretty comfortable with their special teams. They're not like elite, but Kyle Conradi was a good kicker last year. Obviously, he has a good leg, can hit some big kicks. Hit a couple of them last year. And then
and he also missed some big kicks last year. Go ahead.
He did, but none to lose a game.
Iowa State, but he also missed some big kicks, and he had a couple shankopotamuses last year. It was amazing.
True freshman.
We'll see.
He'll be good. Punting situations just fine. As far as returner goes, I would guess, because Jalen Knoll returned kicks last year and punts. I would guess you'd probably see Xavier Townsend on at least one of those, and maybe River Peppers.
Why can't you guys ever figure out the punt game? Why is that?
Because what do you mean by figure out?
Well, it seems to me like they're like either Iowa State has to go punt by committee, or they haven't mishaps.
Had to do that since the Corey Dunn era.
Okay, they have mishaps they have issues with punt returning and punting and the punt team. It seems like there's mishaps.
Really. Like they used to, but like within the last few years they've been pretty good. And actually, Iowa State's punt coverage unit last year, Iowa State's punt return unit last year was actually very good, because Darian Porter was a monster on special teams and blocked a bunch of punts and kicks and shit like that. So they are not the Three Stooges punt return team of 2019. I mean, they've largely stabilized the punting and kick, the special teams unit. You know, they're not a top 5 unit like Iowa is or like Kansas State is, but they are good enough.
I know Mark says Iowa's the number one. Phil Steele says they're the number 1 unit in the country. So they're not top 5. They're number 1.
And Iowa State is not.
They're number 1. They're number 1, Levi.
Not all of us have to get our rocks off to punting, my guy. But I would say it's punting. I would say special teams are good enough. They're not going to hurt them. And like in the case when you have like a guy like Darian Porter that blocked a kick in every single season he played, they can be a net positive too. Is Iowa State going to like make their living off of pinning teams on the 5-yard line like Iowa does? No, but they're gonna do what they need to do to win games. So they're no longer this massive net negative that they used to be.